Is a green wave, thanks to the good economy, going to actually beat out that big government wave pushed by Democratic Socialists that's going on right now. Joining me right now for the panel, we have Democratic strategist Rochelle Ritchie. We have media business analyst Dan Geltrude, former New York Congresswoman Nan Hayworth, and Fox News contributor Kat Timpf. Good to see you all.
Good morning.
Nan, starting with you. I mean, the economy matters to people.
Absolutely. Well,
people tend to vote their pocketbooks. Is it going to matter enough come midterms?
You know, we have all the metrics, obviously, in terms of job growth, in terms of record unemployment among communities of color, folks who haven't been participating in the job market for many years under the previous administration now are coming back in, thank goodness. Consumer confidence is up, so attitudinally people understand, and they give the president high marks on his management of the economy. So those things should matter. And the fact that Democratic Socialists and Democratic Socialist-backed candidates did poorly in Democratic primaries also indicates that people understand that we need a vigorous free market economy.
Rochelle, is the Socialist platform hurting the Democratic Party right now?
Well, look, I'll say this. I definitely do not like the socialist platform that we're seeing right now coming out of the Democratic Party. But, you know, Republicans love to boast about the unemployment rate, which is great. But what they're not sharing with the American people is the fact that underemployment is still pretty high. I mean, 33% of people with college degrees are underemployed. And I know that you mentioned the unemployment rate for African Americans. Well, what's not being mentioned is the fact that that 83% of African Americans are still unemployed compared to whites. And unemployment for African Americans has actually increased over the last 3 months. In May, it was 5.9. In June, it was 6.5. In July, it was 6.6. And I think particularly for African American voters, the bombastic rhetoric that we tend to see from President Trump, and the fact that he is more willing to attack NFL players and not say anything
Really? Wow, okay, so you see that as a
yeah,
I know where you're going with this, because unfortunately we see over and over again the left wants to paint him as racist. Because
no, that's not what I'm
that
saying.
is exactly what you guys do.
No.
Because over and over again you see economic data that's good.
I just, as you mentioned, economic data that is good. However, it's a misrepresentation of the facts. Black people in this country are still relatively higher.
I think the president would differ with you. He did tweet out this morning, I am proud to have fought for and secured the lowest African American and Hispanic unemployment rates in history. Now I'm pushing for prison reform to give people who have paid their debt to society a second chance. I will never stop fighting for all Americans. Dan, going to you for a moment, because one of my frustrations right now with the political environment we're in is that people are not looking at policy, they're not looking at facts, they're trying to make this very emotional. So they're going to paint whoever they can into whatever box they can, including this president. And that's an attempt to rally the base and get them emotionally connected to midterms. Is that going to work, or are people going to say, like Nan said, I'm better off today than I was a year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago?
Well, you're exactly right about these elections are going to be about emotion, unfortunately. And I think what we have to realize, people are much more motivated to go out and vote against something than to go out and vote for something. So we have this great economy. People are satisfied. So is that going to make them lazy when it comes to going to the polls? And I think that's what this election, the midterm elections, is going to be about. Remember this. This is not a national election. This is a series of local elections. So you're going to have local issues that are going to play pretty significantly into what happens in all these seats in Congress.
But see, Kat, isn't this in part perhaps why we're seeing the border issue really get inflamed right now? Because again, as Dan says, people, they want to have something that they're connected to emotionally. So whether it's, you know, this president is a racist, therefore you need to vote him out of office and the Republicans out of office, or whether it's, you know, we're going to open up our borders and people are going to flood in, there's sort of a fear factor, I think, on both sides.
Right. There is a great deal of passion, but it is on both sides. We always hear about this blue wave and that all these Democrats are going to want to get out. And I'm sure a lot of them that didn't vote in 2016 are going to get out there and vote because of what happened in 2016. But But on the Republican side, we're seeing the highest voter enthusiasm before almost every midterm election dating back to 1994, with one exception in June 2010. So there's also a lot of passion and a lot of wanting to get up and go on the Republican side as well. Yeah. So if it is about emotion, it is about passion. It's not so easy to just say, okay, blue wave, look at all these emotions. We don't hear as much about the emotions on the Republican side and the passion on the Republican side that is backed up by data.
All right, I want to get to this other issue right now, and that's a conservative commentator, Ben Shapiro, who was out there challenging Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez to a debate. He offered her $10,000 for her campaign or her charity, whatever she wanted. Well, you know what she did? She called his attempt to debate her catcalling. I mean, it didn't even make sense to me. I had to double check. Wait, catcalling?
No.
I asked Ben about this.
It's like. Yeah. I've never had someone say, hey, I'm going to debate you on the issues. That'd be great.
Well, so I asked Ben about this yesterday. Here's his response. Take a look.
The fact that she feels the necessity to go to this particular card, right, to play the I'm a female and therefore I'm being victimized, this is like catcalling. The fact she goes there instead of just saying, you know what, I'm not interested in debate, the reason she didn't say the latter is because she didn't want to look like she was afraid.
She's afraid. I get that. But what bugs me the most is the victimization here that's going on. I mean, to say that he's catcalling when he's just asking you to have an intellectual conversation, what's that about, Rochelle?
You know, I don't agree. It's not catcalling. Like Kat said, we live in New York City. Yeah. That's not catcalling.
No. So what is it? Look at me, I'm a victim.
The only thing she's a victim of is her own foolishness. And I think I give her enough credit to know that versus Ben Shapiro, she would lose pretty severely.
Yeah. Not catcalling.
No, not catcalling. She clearly is afraid to debate him. She has had difficulty in television interviews before when she's actually pressed on, okay, how would you pay for this? Or, okay, how exactly does this work? She kind of flounders a little bit.
Gotcha. All right, we're going to leave it there.